Palantir is collapsing today, double digits. Ooh-wee, this is gonna be a good one. Welcome to Hot Stocks.
Cory got the charts on smash, he don't play game. Calling tops, calling bottoms, y'all remain tame.
All right. So many of you know this, but I've been talking about Palantir getting very close to a very dangerous point where it could start to collapse upwards of 30%. So if you haven't seen that video, I gave all of the reasoning why I thought that. All of it is objective, so you can check that out if you haven't already seen it. And now today, Palantir is down double digits in just one swift motion. So it does look like all of this is starting to be in motion. And tonight on the Palantir section, I'm going to talk about exactly how we knew this was coming following price action and how you could have traded this to the downside with very well controlled risk. So this will be a very educational episode where you're going to learn how price action allowed you for a very solid trade setup shorting Palantir stock today. So last night when we were looking at the Palantir chart, I told you it was bullish that we broke above 122, but the bulls needed to hold above 122. And I said even if the bulls are going higher, there was a very good chance they were going to have to come down to test 122 before pushing higher. But there was the chance, of course, the bulls failed and we broke down below 122 and started lower towards 105. So you have to remember, I have no idea what is going to happen in the future. As a trader, all I can do is understand what price action that I'm looking for to either do a bullish trade or a bearish trade. And then of course, I always want to know my reward and my risk. And I told you that if you were playing this stock bullishly and you were just now thinking about buying, there was nowhere near enough reward potential for the downside risk potential. So I gave a very clear warning last night that you should not be buying this stock unless you were a long-term investor that had bought this stock at a much lower cost basis. And the reason I knew to tell you that was simply because the risk reward favored the sellers and the bears, because even if you're a bull, there's a very good chance at these levels that you're looking to lock profits. And that is a lot of selling pressure, which is why I told you it's too risky to buy this stock going long, which automatically means if I'm looking at this stock, I'm looking to short it on weakness. And that was the breakdown below 122. And the breakdown below 122 was giving us confirmation we could trade it lower towards 105. So below 122 was the price action we needed to see. And if I switch this over to the 5-minute chart, you can see very clearly that Palantir came down towards 122. It bounced right off of 121.6, so very close. Nothing is ever exactly to the penny. And then from there, we had this very strong bounce. But as you can see, we just came back to where we previously rejected from, right around 125. And that is what's called as a potential double top, because you don't get confirmation of a double top until you come down and break down below the neckline, which was down here right around 122. So you could have taken a very aggressive short up here on this rejection, knowing that you had very little risk above 125 if you were wrong, meaning that if price did start to bounce and break out yet again, you have to take that very small loss because that means it could be going higher towards 131. But as you can tell, what it did was form another lower high rejection and continue that trend lower, which was giving more confirmation this was a bearish rejection. And a lot of experienced traders are going to start jumping the gun on this because they know the downside potential is a lot on a stock that has ran this far without any sort of pullback. And as you can tell here, there was one more test of this breakdown on the third attempt of trying to break back above it, a little bit of a bull trap, and then it was just good night after that. And once we broke down below 122, you had your final confirmation from price that we were getting the bearish rejection from all of these lower highs. We had the lower highs from the previous double top, and then we had the confirmation of the double top on the breakdown below the neckline. And all of this played out picture perfect because from there, it was just a straight line flush all the way down into the low 100s. And then as you can see, very near the end of the day, we did get that dead cat bounce. So that is a perfect example of how you can have a trade plan around shorting a stock and then waiting and letting the price action tell you everything you need to know on how to enter that trade. And every time you were entering a trade for shorting Palantir, you knew exactly where to manage your risk because the chart showed you from price and it was 100% objective. All you had to do was understand what you were looking for and then simply reacting to it when the price told you to jump on it and make that trade. So this is what I mean when I'm telling you to move like water and follow price action. This could not have been a better example of a trade setup that we were stalking, meaning we didn't need to take any action until the chart gave us an entry, and today was a perfect example of exactly doing just that. So when we go back to the daily chart, that is the example. We obviously do not have the bull scenario going to 131. and now that means Palantir is risk off below 122. And as long as it's risk off, that means everything from here could be a lower high rejection. And if you go back to that video where I talk about Palantir going down 30%, I clearly show it being a larger move of a lower high rejection from a lower low bounce and then breaking down and confirming the move down into the low 80s. So what I'm trying to tell you is this move looks like it's well underway, which means tomorrow we should be looking for a confirmation of more attempts to push to the downside at 105 and 99. And then even if we bounce off 99, there's still a very good chance that's going to be a lower high rejection on our path lower towards the low 80s. It can't get any simpler than this, and it is 100% objective. Believe me when I tell you, I understand this is a very good company, but that means nothing as a trader. It could come all the way down into a very deep correction and still go much higher 10 years from now. We are short-term minded traders. We are not investors. And if you are watching anything that I'm talking about with trading, it is never for an investor's mindset of holding for 10 years or longer. This is a very obvious trading channel around following price action, understanding probabilities and risk reward, and then taking the highest probability chance to make the most money. And on Palantir stock, that was the bearish short trade. So again, this is the perfect example for a price action lesson. I don't think it could have happened any better than what I talked about and then what actually played out, which means we had a trade plan before the price action gave us the entry, and all we had to do was simply react to it. We absolutely crushed this trade on the Discord server today, following price action moves level by level and move by move, and absolutely dominated this trade for a very profitable short trade. And this is all within the context of a very strong bull trend, which is the hardest bear trade to make, but sometimes things just get so far overextended that even though they're bullish, they're still very strong short setups and very good short trades. So right now, this is what you are looking for Palantir stock. The expectation is that even if it bounces, we are looking for lower high rejections and more moves to the downside. So don't get overly excited if you see a green candle. Go hammer down into the price action and look for lower high rejections. And only if you start to get higher high breakouts from higher lows should you be getting bullish on Palantir stock. Because I will remind you from that video that I did where Palantir is likely coming down 30%, there is a very high probability chance that Palantir is trying to get down into the 80s, even if it takes more than a month. So have patience, understand the longer term trajectory is lower, and manage that risk, because if it does start to break out bullishly, and you're just blindly shorting it, you will lose a lot of money. So nothing I'm talking about doing here is blind. It is just like I drew here of understanding the price action movements and then using that price action structure on the chart to set up your risk and reward and playing the highest probability chance, which obviously when the breakdown occurred, the highest probability is that it's going to go lower. And that is exactly what happened. So let the price action do all of the talking and continue to move like water, and understand this is the bigger picture of what we're expecting with the lower low breakdown after the lower high rejection. And there's a very good chance that's going to occur in the low 100s or high 90s, and then a bounce to a lower high, and then another collapse down into the 80s or possibly even lower. So let the price action do all the talking here. If you want to come join the Discord, we'll obviously be following this every single day because it's likely going to be a lot more solid trade setups in this chart, and we're only just getting started. And you can find out how to join my Discord server by clicking on the link in the description of this video.
Cory got the charts on smash, he don't play games. Calling tops, calling bottoms, y'all remain tame.